Well, the end of that countdown, it almost sounded like it was in church, even though you guys, I don't know if you got a chance to hear it or not, but it almost sounded like the church should begin. But anyways, all right, so welcome. It is Thursday night, Friday Eve, depending on who looks at it. Of course, 3 days away from the Super Bowl here in Tampa. And I will tell you, I've never had an opportunity of going to an actual Super Bowl, and the city has been played in. But I will say the buzz and excitement here in Tampa, you can feel the energy. It may not be as strong, and of course it'll be biased because we are Eagles fans, a lot of us. But I will say that the excitement is just as much as, when the Eagles obviously won just a couple years ago. But it's very, very exciting here in Tampa. So Tampa, of course, hosting Super Bowl 55, Tampa Bay 55 as they've been calling it. The nice thing about it is they've been decorating the whole entire city with all kinds of Super Bowl paraphernalia. So it's a lot of fun. I was this past weekend at the NFL Experience. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. We're also going to have here, hopefully momentarily, as we're trying to get the connection through, Phil Andrews from the New Jersey Network News. He should be on with us, connecting with us here momentarily. And of course, it is Time's Yours night. You guys can ask us whatever you feel like asking us, of course, and we'll see the comments here momentarily. I did see the Ducky sign in not too long ago. So we will have all that going on for you guys. Of course, there's some Eagles news. Tampa Bay, of course, getting ready for Kansas City. Kansas City is not here, and they will not be in Tampa until Saturday because of the COVID protocols. But if you want to go visit them and say hi to them briefly, they're at the Hilton down there in Tampa. So it is Thursday night, of course, episode 32. It is Time's Yours, and we will get the show underway here as we will introduce here Mike Fuji and/or, of course, Vito Corleone and Professor / Guru here momentarily. So I am Angel. This is Broad Street South Sports Talk. So again, it is Thursday night. Welcome everybody who's tuned in. Thank you for tuning into our show. We really do appreciate it. Thank you also for liking, following, sharing the page, subscribing to us on Facebook, on Twitter, following us on YouTube as well. So we do appreciate it all. Again, we're talking some Eagles news as Carson Wentz now is starting to ramp up. There's between 9 to possibly 19 teams that are looking for his services. Whether the Eagles will let him go, we will see. And also just announced not too long ago, the NFLPA and the NFL stated that maybe the salary cap situation would actually go bigger or there'll be more money available. So maybe the Eagles won't be as bad, even though they're minus $136,000 in the hole for it. So we shall see. There's going to be a lot to talk about, of course, and dive into. And with that being said, of course, we can't do the show without my two guys. First, the co-host, Vito Corleone, Mike Fuji. Mikey, what do you say?
What do you hear? What do you say? 3 days from Super Bowl 55. Chiefs in the box. What's going on, Mr. Angel?
No, we started at a blistering 28 degrees this morning. Believe it or not, it gets that cold down here in Tampa, but 28 degrees this morning. But the nice thing is by lunchtime, it went up to 71 degrees. So everything is good, and it's going to get warmer for the weekend. But they are saying there could be some rain. And when we have summer storms around here, it's pretty nuts. So if that summer storm comes through on Sunday, it might be a wet start to the Super Bowl. So we're hoping not. Maybe it'll push through beforehand. So we'll see. The weather should be playing a good factor here. It was nice this past weekend, but the past 3 days, it's been quite cold. And also, of course, we can't do the show without the guru, the professor himself, Mike Sherman. Mike, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, gentlemen. I hope that you guys are doing well. Listen, everyone out there, it was 3 years ago tonight that the Philadelphia Eagles ousted the New England Patriots 41-33 to raise the Lombardi Trophy in Super Bowl 52, and I was able to finally get this shirt, baby. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! Let's do it.
Well, let's see. Sorry, I'm typing away something at the moment, but let's see if the Eagles can make at least a big splash coming up this offseason. And forgive me as I'm doing this here, as we're trying to get some technical stuff done. Let's hope that the Eagles can actually get the job done, and that's not what I wanted. Because it's been many a talk at the moment here as far as lately, once again, Carson Wentz coming up in the news. There's teams that are looking for his services. Mike, that was sent again. There are teams that are looking for his services, obviously. And between 9 to 19 is from what I understand. That's not too long ago from Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network. And Sherman, I guess I'll start out with you because we talked about it, of course, and you keep saying be careful what you wish for, and we understand that. We've learned that as the season has went on. But we see that Carson Wentz could either A, be an Eagle still, or who knows? It seems like, some of the Colts talk, maybe the Colts when I'm doing a deal. Do you believe that Carson Wentz will stay here? Because Jalen Hurts lately has been on the NFL Network, and it's almost feeling like he is the actual starting quarterback. So I'm curious to know if you believe that Carson Wentz will remain an Eagle.
I personally think that Carson Wentz is not going to remain an Eagle. This is a team that together has gotten very old very quickly, and I think that the only way that the Eagles are going to improve and be a Super Bowl contender again is if they move away from Wentz. They got to get rid of all the drama that he caused in the locker room. Look, he's been healthy for the last couple of years, and kudos to him for that. And you can blame the lack of success for the Eagles on so many things. Oh, he didn't have the offensive line. He didn't have the receivers. He's mentally not ready for it. But I really think that the Eagles need to move on at this point. Get rid of his salary. Take the salary cap hit now. See what you can get for him. Look, if Matthew Stafford can get moved in the National Football League for the price tag that he got, I think that Carson Wentz can get moved, and I think that the Eagles can get some valuable assets and draft picks for him. And look, when I was on the show last week, I talked about the fact that I thought that the Washington football team, the Giants, and the Cowboys were moving in the up direction, and the Eagles were moving in the down direction. And it's going to take a few years for the Eagles to get back on track. So I say, pull the plug now, move Wentz, see what you can get for him, and rebuild together as a group, starting with that offensive line.
I believe so. And James, I do see your comment here where he says, I thought we were going to chat. You guys, by means, this is your show. Thursday nights are about you guys. If you guys have questions, again, for us, please post them up there in the comments as everyone else did here. Ducky Cornish, yo, bro. Ducky, we do see you. Rick, Jake, Ryan, all you guys, thank you for tuning in. So, James, if you have a question, because, again, it will be a mix of course, of us talking to you guys and you guys talking to us. So, by all means, if you have a question, please post it up there in the comments. Fuji.
Yes.
Again, it's one of those things that Carson Wentz obviously either stays or goes. What is your feel? As Rick keeps saying, he'll end up in Denver there. And who else? Ryan said it. He said it a month ago. He'll end up in Indy, which is true. Ryan did say that about a month ago.
Well, I think he's out of here. I mean, like I said last week when Vince Quinn was on, if Carson Wentz, can he be fixed? He's going to have to want to be fixed. And the thing of it is I just think he needs a change of scenery, and I just think it's better for both teams, both parties to part ways. As much as, he had one bad year, but still, it's just he hasn't spoken to the media since the season was over, and that's just it. It's just better the Eagles just move on. Thanks for the memories. Thanks for the 11-2 start and a potential MVP Super Bowl year you brought the last 2 years. But as Mike says, be careful what we wish for. But that's just, I think it's null and void. You got to say bye-bye.
That is exact truth. And I have David Sherman. He brought up a good point here. I want to slowly swing something here to my left. David Sherman, of course, from the Shermanators, the humongous Shermanator crew that's out there. And Tom, hello, I see you there at the bottom. Hey guys, today the anniversary is all about the Eagles. No one except for we goofballs are going to mention that magical February 3rd and 4th weekend in 1968 when the first year expansion Flyers miraculously defeated both heavily favored Chicago. I thought we were going to go with the February. Well, okay, so I can see both. 3rd for the Flyers and the 4th, of course, for the Eagles. So I see where he's going with that one. As I'm going into other things here. So, true, which is, of course, February 4th. Today, just a couple years ago, when we looked at, of course, the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, and we thought it was going to end up being one of those things, obviously, that Eagles on the magical run that they had was going to be stopped when Carson Wentz got hurt in LA, of course, bring in Nick Foles. Nick Foles comes in to be the hero, and the rest, of course, as it said, is always it's history. The Eagles go on to win the Super Bowl, and I do have the video, of course, we showed not so long ago with their fans and their reactions of finally winning it all. And speaking of, there is one that I wanted to show, and I'll re-show when Phil Jones is here momentarily. I did not know until today that this video was actually out there. If I make sure I click on the right one here, and with the name on the screen, you should guess who it is, as we also remembered this individual and his daughter earlier this week.
Oh my! No! Oh, thank God! Oh my God! Yes, we won! We won the Super Bowl! That's it! We won the Super Bowl! Oh my God! Oh my God! Yeah! Yes! Yes!
Now, of course, I didn't know, and I guess because it's been a couple of years now that it's passed, but I didn't even know because no one even talked about it. I guess Vanessa Bryant was holding on to the video, and God bless her for sharing it with everybody. But Kobe Bryant celebrated, of course, back in L.A. when the Eagles ended up winning because he was from Pennsylvania, obviously from the county. As he said, he wasn't from Philly, but he played Philly street ball to make him as good as he did when he got drafted by the Lakers. But it's pretty interesting to see Kobe Bryant celebrating with his, of course, the youngest out of them all, which now she's older. But it's pretty neat to see Kobe, I guess, from the celebration mode, or at least the after effect. But nice to see, obviously, Kobe Bryant. The other video that all of us, and I'm going to get back here to the chat as I see there's more questions being posted up there. So let's see. James, I'll get right back to you on that one. The other video that we played not so long ago, and again, because it is the anniversary, I guess, when it comes to the Eagles, is just the celebration factor that went in. And maybe this will make us feel a little bit better coming to the next new season and next season, as Nick Sirianni is trying to do his best to sound well on his second, I guess, press conference. Because the first one didn't go too well, but at least he wasn't Adam Gase, where he had the crazy look in his eyes and not saying the right things. But Nick will learn. First-year coach, you got to give him a little bit of a pass. But this one, of course, is the one that we remember, and I have to put this up front. YouTube, we not own the rights to this. You guys have it posted on there, so it's obviously for anyone to use. So with that being said, of course, here's a video that we can remember and relate to. And we bring it up here on the screen first. And then the only thing is, of course, the audio. So you guys will have to let me know if you can hear the audio, because the last time we had issues with the audio. All right. So much for that one. Apparently we can't hear the audio. It's always a great thing. Always a great thing. I'm unfortunately trying to figure that one out because of the audio portion, and I don't know why for the life of me. For YouTube lately, the audio has not been working. So hopefully we'll get that fixed before the show is over. But that was, of course, the most exciting one, that the Eagles, after we were all said and done, they ended up winning the Super Bowl. Of course, we loved it ever since. And it's one of those things that we hope that everyone is appreciating. So sorry if I'm kind of going in circles here as I'm trying to master a couple of things. We're still trying to make contact with Phil Andrews. So don't mind me with the little mass confusion here. So I'll get back to the comments as we wait for Phil to come back up. Mikey, you'll have to let me know exactly what's going on with them. I did resend it, so hopefully he'll end up getting it. I will double check again. Matter of fact, I'll take myself off. Can you guys, by the way, see the comments? Or matter of fact, here, I'm going to throw in a comment out here. I'm going to excuse myself for a second, come back into it so I can see what's going on here.
You want to go first or second with this? All right, I guess I'm going to go first with this because I can't even hear Fuji's audio. So Ryan Neff asks, would you throw in Ertz and Wentz in a package deal? Ryan, if the package is right, absolutely. I think that I would move Ertz and Wentz. I don't know what teams out there are going to want Ertz and Wentz to be willing to take on both of those contracts. I think if there's a team that's willing to do it and they're willing to send you the right thing in return, then yes, I think that would be a package worth considering. And thank you so much for that question. We really appreciate that. Fuji, what do you think? Would you throw in Ertz and Wentz in a package deal?
Just think it just depends on who's willing to take on Carson Wentz's contract. And, Zach Ertz ain't going to play for peanuts with that deal, even though he's coming off, a bad injury this year and was out 6 to 7 weeks. I mean, I think you're going to – I honestly think Carson Wentz is going to end up in Denver. For whatever reason, Elway will give up something and probably take that contract on as long as they got the money. But with Zach Ertz, I don't know. I mean, he's going to want a new deal. I think he has 1 or 2 years left, and it just depends.
I think if Kansas City finds a way to win the Super Bowl on Sunday and Travis Kelce has the potentially great game that he's capable of having, I think the teams around the league are just going to understand how important it is to have an effective tight end in the league. And look, I'm not trying to put Zach Ertz at 2021 in the same league as Travis Kelce at 2021. But if and when Kelce has a big game on Sunday night against the Patriots, I think that's going to make Ertz that more marketable because of the fact that, when you have a security blanket like that, a big target who is great at catching the ball and can score touchdowns with the Super Bowl pedigree on his resume, I think that's an excellent thing. All right. The next question that I wanted to look at, there's so many comments coming in, we can't see all of them. I believe it was James Howe who asked if we thought that Jalen Hurts is going to be the answer in Philadelphia. So, Mike, I'll start with you. Do you think that Jalen Hurts is going to be the answer if Carson Wentz ends up getting moved?
It's a possibility. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be shocked to see the Eagles take a quarterback at number 6 unless Howie can work some magic and try to move up. But who do you draft is the question.
Well, I've been saying it all along. No matter who the quarterback is, whether it's Wentz, whether it's Fields, whether it's Hurts, whether it's somebody else who they get, the Philadelphia Eagles need to build that offensive line. You talk about Lane Johnson and his PEDs and the problems that he had, and now the rumors coming out that maybe Jason Kelce is going to retire or potentially get cut by the Eagles. Rumor, who knows? The fact that Brandon Brooks has been injured so often in his career and Jason Peters is not going to come back. They need to build that offensive line. Once that offensive line is built, it's going to make it so much easier for Sanders to run. It's going to take so much pressure off of the quarterback. In my opinion, I don't think that Jalen Hurts is going to be the answer, but it's unfair to really say that with the fact that he's only played in 4 games. I know he's thrown a couple of key interceptions in the Dallas game and the Washington game, but that really isn't fair. But long-term, if you ask me right now, do I think Jalen Hurts is going to be the answer? I'm going to say no. I don't think that he's going to be the answer, and I don't think that Wentz is going to be the answer. And unfortunately, I think, be careful what you wish for. We got that Super Bowl 3 years ago, and it might be a big-time minute before the Eagles become relevant again.
Well, the thing of it is, you got Nick Sirianni coming in with a whole new offensive system, so hopefully he'll be passing the ball and running the ball with some balance.
And it's really unfair to him. Somebody had mentioned the fact of whether we think Sirianni is going to work. I don't remember who asked that question, but thank you for the question. I said last week that I think Sirianni is essentially going to be a scapegoat for this team because the Eagles have so many holes to fill right now on offense, in defense, and at quarterback. I just don't see this team getting back to the Super Bowl within the next 3 to 5 years. And, this is a town where, if you're not up for the big prize, heads are going to roll. And I think Sirianni, this head coach for the Eagles who has no former head coach experience in the NFL, I think that he's going to ultimately get a raw deal.
No, I think there's a gentleman that might be able to give us some more insight on this. And he is waiting here in the green room as we bring up Mr. Phil Andrews. Phil, how are you this evening?
My hand is about to fall off. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
What are you talking about?
Me? What am I talking about?
Here's the thing. I'm just going to go back to the year that they got rid of Chip Kelly, right? And Kelly ruined this team forever. It's going to take 5 years, 10 years, whatever. You know, people really overreacted when that happened. I mean, in the previous 2 years, Kelly won 10 games and took the team to a playoff. He had a horrible third year, and that's why he was let go. But what happened 2 years after he was let go?
Won the Super Bowl.
Exactly. So here's the thing with the National Football League. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, you just don't know. And to knock Nick Sirianni for not having any head coaching experience, neither did Andy Reid. Andy Reid was a quarterback's coach, and he was 35 when he came here, and Sirianni's 39. So I think, listen, I've worked in Philadelphia since 1990. When I first started covering the Eagles, Buddy Ryan was the head coach, and they practiced out of Westchester. And the one thing, I love the passion that Eagles fans have, but sometimes the sky seems to always be falling, and I just don't understand.
Oh,
No, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, Phil, I like the Sirianni hire, like you said. And who else? Was Andy Reid interviewed by anybody else?
At that point, I don't know.
Right.
But somebody told me today, one of my fellow journalists told me they were trying to poach the Green Bay Packers for Andy for quite some time, which I don't understand because they had Ray Rhodes for 3 years. So I don't know. People seem to think that that Lurie always tries to outsmart himself. But no, I mean, look at the hires that he had. He hired a coach a couple of years ago that people thought was a horrible coach. He won you a Super Bowl. They hired a coach who was a quarterback's coach out of Green Bay. He took you to 4 NFC title games and a Super Bowl. Didn't win the Super Bowl, but got you there. The thing with sports is, and especially football, you just never know how things are going to turn out. You just don't.
Well, the story I heard about Andy Reid, he said Mike Holmgren threw his playbook in the trash, and Andy Reid took it out. So,
whatever the case may be, Andy brought Eagles fans a lot of very, very good years here. He's the only coach, as you know, to go to 3 straight NFC title games and 3 straight AFC title games. He's headed for the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, fellas, you know this too if you follow the Eagles. He's the second Eagles coach to coach the Eagles, take them to the Super Bowl, lose, and then go to another team and win a Super Bowl. You know the other coaches, right?
Dick Vermeil.
Very good. Yep, there you have it.
There was and Dick Vermeil was it. I mean, it's 2 coaches. I guess I don't know if we're gonna go back a little in nostalgia history. Or you have Dick Vermeil and Andy Reid, which would have been great, I guess, if those 2 would have won it here in Philly because they knew what Philly was all about. They knew how hard the city is. It's a blue collar town. They know it and they felt it. Andy Reid, I know because unfortunately at the back end of his career, his sons pretty much got in the way of everything that had happened to him. God bless the one, of course, that passed away. And I know Andy's probably still obviously remembering his son. And then the other one that kind of continues off and on to give him issues. But he went on to Kansas City, I guess, restarted his life, jump-started his life, however which way you want to say it. And, of course, have won the Super Bowl last year. Now has an opportunity of repeating again. So for people to even say back then, which, of course, Andy, he was washed up and everything else. And because we are fans, it's just the way we felt in the moment. It was kind of a tough pill to swallow. Now we're seeing that he could have won back-to-back. What we feel, and I guess I'll ask you a question, for you as far as it comes to Andy Reid, would we have been happy here, even though Doug Peterson came from the Andy Reid tree, what would been happier if Andy would have won 2 back-to-back here or if Doug would have won 2 back-to-back in Philly?
Well, Andy would have had to have gotten to 2 to have a chance to win back-to-back, right?
Right.
He went to 5 NFC title games, got to 1 Super Bowl. I mean, which one of us here didn't think that they were going to beat Tampa Bay that night when they were playing at the Vet, right?
Right.
I'm going to tell you a story. I don't know if you know this or not, but there was once upon a time I worked at Action News with Gary Popper, and I had just gotten to my hotel room in San Diego because we were going to be out there for the entire week covering the Super Bowl. So they set me ahead early, and I got the earliest flight I could so I could actually watch the NFC title game when I got to my hotel room. I got into my hotel room just in time to watch Deuce Staley score the first touchdown of the game. And I'm thinking, okay, this is great. And then as I watched this game unfold, it was like, okay, I guess this is going to be a short stay in San Diego. sometimes the players on the field have to do it too. I mean, 5 NFC title games. That's pretty impressive. In the time, what was he at 14 years? That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
No, it is. And it's listen, I wish, again, Dick Vermeil could have done it back then. Of course, it would have been at the Link, which would have made it, at Veterans Stadium, which would have made it even bigger just because of the 700 level within itself. As most of us, if we remember the 700 level, and now at the Link, it's nothing like that, but it did transfer the jail cell though, over to the Link. So if you want some nostalgia from the vet, that's still there. But it's nice to see, I guess, to Andy Reid. I mean, he well-deserved because we knew he was probably the most winningest regular season coach of all time. You couldn't take that away from Andy Reid. He just couldn't get over that playoff hump, and he was able and fortunate to do so last year. Now, compare this year, Phil, to last year. I think, for me, Kansas City had more of a competitive edge last year, and every game leading up to the Super Bowl, they had to come back from behind to win it. This year, I'm not saying by any means it's a shoo-in for Kansas City. It's just, to me, a different feel. It doesn't feel – they do want it because obviously Andy and Patrick Mahomes want to go back-to-back champions. It's harder to do, as the Patriots have done it a couple years. So, and Tom Brady now trying to do it with Tampa Bay for the first time with Tampa Bay, their second Super Bowl appearance, which they hope they end up winning. But to me, Kansas City, the edge is not there as much as last year. At least that's what I'm feeling. Even though there have been the ones favored to win coming up on Sunday. Do you see any difference between this team last season compared to this year, or is it pretty much the same? They just kind of, maybe gotten their secondary a lot better than they were from the Super Bowl from last year?
No, you hit the nail right on the head. Last year's Kansas City team was much better. I mean, look at the points they were scoring last year. There were a couple of games this year that the Kansas City probably could have lost, but they did not. Somebody asked me 2 weeks ago when Green Bay was playing Tampa Bay. They said, "Well, who are you taking?" And I said, I know enough never to bet against Tom Brady. And good thing I didn't bet against Tom Brady because, I saw a quote today from one of the Buccaneers saying, we knew that when they signed Tom Brady as the quarterback, we were going to be the first team in NFL history to play in our home stadium. And guess what? If anybody could, he's 43 years old?
Right.
And, he's getting ready to play in his 10th Super Bowl. He doesn't look like he's lost a step. And so, hey, don't be surprised if Tampa Bay wins this game on Sunday.
I wouldn't be shocked because I may take heat for it, but to me, Brady's money. He just knows when to turn it on when his back's against the wall.
And by the way, Tampa Bay has a pretty good defense.
Well, Todd Bowles has that defense playing lights out. Jason Pierre-Paul looks like he's rejuvenated from his prime days with the Giants.
Yep.
And plus, Eric Fisher's out, their left tackle for the Chiefs, so that could be a big blow to that Kansas City offensive line for Tampa Bay to send the blitz.
I would just like it to be a competitive game. I hate when the Super Bowls are a blowout, but we've been very lucky the last, 5 or 6 years. The games have been somewhat close down the end. Look at the Eagles game. And then the game that Brady had to bring the team back against Atlanta. You just want a good game, right? If you're going to spend all that money to get your beverages of choice and your snacks of choice and sit down with your friends and family, although you're not supposed to do that this year, is what I've been.
Right.
You just want it to be entertaining, right?
No, that is true. And I will say this much, from now originally, of course, because I'm from South Philly, I'm from the Philly area. Now I happen to reside here in Tampa. It's a different feel, as I was talking about it with the guys before we went on air. So in Philly, obviously the excitement was it was building as the year went by. The things that normally the Pico building did, they didn't do. So things changed. So I guess changed the jinx, or whatever you want to call it, back in Philly. And between Philly, Delaware, and New York, were all painted green, and the vibe was different. It was just a different feel. It felt like the Eagles were going to win it, and they actually did it. So being down here in Tampa, now all season long, I kind of made fun, of course, the Buccaneers because, again, I am an Eagles fan, so I'll be a little biased there. But it was in just being fun saying that where they practice, the address is One Buck Place. So I said at least 2 Buck fans have come out all season long because that's all you would see. As they made their run throughout the playoffs here and now being a Super Bowl. Last week, I was at the NFL Experience, And I kid you not, Phil, it was probably the most Bucks jerseys I've seen, other than hanging at Walmart or your other local stores, than on people's backs, because you just didn't see it here in Tampa. Tampa is not a humongous sports town like it is in Philly. Philly, you can talk, any station you can just about put on and you'll hear, whether it's on the news, whether it's on radio, or people just going back and forth like us on the podcast. Tampa's a whole different kind of city where you don't hear as much. But the buzz is there. Like, you're starting to feel like I've never been fortunate enough to go to a Super Bowl game myself or been in a city where they've held a Super Bowl. But being here in Tampa, you can start feeling the electricity. And as it gets closer to game time, you can start feeling more and more. And I do believe the Bucks will actually win it. And it's going to be, to me, it's going to be more close of a 31-29 type game. But in order to beat the Chiefs, everyone knows you have to beat them at least by 30 plus points, because Mahomes, anything under that, it's Mahomes' game. So to me, Tampa is starting to finally get there. I mean, you got the Rowdies, who won the soccer championship here this year. The Rays.
Wait. Did you say the Rowdies?
Yeah, unfortunately. But the thing is, here's the funny part, though, because the Rowdies, they're not really an MLS team, but they're like the junior league. And the only reason why they won it, believe it or not, is because of COVID. Since COVID came, the other team pretty much fell with COVID. So it was like, okay, Rowdies, here you go. You guys won. So it wasn't a fair game, put it that way.
Let me just tell you something. I'm a huge soccer fan. I grew up in Europe. I played in Italy, Germany, and England. My father was in the military. So I'm a huge soccer fan. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine way back in the day played for Tampa Bay when we were in the NASL, the North American Soccer League. So it's just so weird to hear the Rowdies' name mentioned. But you say that Tampa Bay is not a big sports town. I've been in Tampa Bay. When I worked in New York, I was in Tampa Bay during several Stanley Cup playoff runs when the Rangers went down to play the Lightning. Those people, even though it's not a hockey area, they really come out hockey players. And then, of course, you've got, the Yankees are there in the summer for training, and then right across the bridge, you got so you're right. I don't think it is a football town, but this week it is, because that week before the Buccaneers played the Eagles at the Vet for the NFC title game, I was also in Tampa Bay that week doing all kinds of preview stories. And wherever you went, the Buccaneers, the Buccaneers stuff everywhere. And the sports guys that work down there told me that this is not the norm. So I hear you. I hear what you're saying about that. But, when your team gets to the Super Bowl, everybody's allowed to jump on board, right?
Oh, of course. Definitely. And it's fun. Like I said, it's fun to actually see the fans come out where you just don't see them, because it's a free giveaway, type deal. It's nice that they're actually coming out to support the team. And during the NFL experience, it was pretty neat. We ran into Jane Castor, the mayor of Tampa, and that's the second time we actually ran into her. The first time was during the American League Championship Series, but she was excited, and we thanked her for putting on, obviously, a good show here in Tampa, because she's done a lot. Whether you're Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. You're still a human, and she did the best that she possibly could, at least to host the Super Bowl here. So she's done a phenomenal job as far as the Tampa area itself. But it is fun to see the buzz going on where normally it's not. Now, the Lightning, you are correct. The Lightning, the fans come out, and the first year when I arrived here, it was when they made their playoff push. And the funniest thing to me was it was 95 degrees. And I see everybody with their jerseys on. I'm like, are you guys insane? Do you not know how hot it is and that jersey on? But no matter how hot, how cold, no matter if it's a cardigan, it's a Lightning jersey, whatever it is, the fans here will show up for Lightning. So I will say that much. The Yankees, it's the Yankees. No one.
It's just a novelty. Listen, the baseball in that area is just a novelty, right? The only time you get to see Major League Baseball is during spring training. And so a lot of people go and take advantage of it to get close to some of their stars. I was there the year that A-Rod, his last year there, and, there were a lot of fans there. What really sucks about this Super Bowl is, again, we talked about it being the first team to play a home game in the Super Bowl, and yet your fans can't go watch the game because you can only have, 500? What is it, 5,000 people in the stands?
22,000.
No,
it's going to be 2,500 fans.
Yeah, 2,500. That stinks. For all you Bucks fans who are excited about your team playing, but between you and me, it's a lot more fun to watch it on TV. I think at home. I was at the Eagles game when they lost to the Patriots down in Jacksonville. So I've had my share of. I covered the Super Bowl 20. When the Bears beat the Patriots, I just started television, and that was a tough trip to take. watching that team get smoked by the Bears. But that Bears team was unbelievable. But yeah, it's a shame that the fans can't actually get inside the stadium and watch that game in person.
It is quite a shame. And I want to bring back here. Tom had a question here, and he put on there that how did you make your way to Channel 6?
Oh, well, I drove. No, I'm going to tell you, I tell this story all the time because it's just sometimes this business is about being in the right place at the right time. And at the time, I was working at the CBS affiliate in Hartford, Connecticut, actually working with Gayle King, Oprah's friend. She was one of the news anchors. I was one of the sports guys. And the phone rang at my desk, and I pick up the phone, and it's like, can I speak to Phil Andrews? And I'm like, well, this is Phil. What can I do for you? This is Dave Davis from WPVI in Philadelphia. Now, I'm thinking it's one of the sports guys there looking for video or something. Oh, hey, Dave, what can I do for you? He said, well, I'm just calling to find out what your situation is there at WFSB. I'm like, it turns out to be the news director who was calling me. They had seen me on somebody else's tape, and I think I had 8 months left on my contract, but we worked out a deal where my station let me out early. And when I came to Philadelphia for my interview, I interviewed with the news director, the general manager, and the assistant news director. And this when they were telling me that we may have an opening, and it was to replace Don Tollefson, which I know at that time Don Tollefson was, a huge sports guy in this town. So that's how it happened. It just came out of the blue. I was actually interviewing for a job in Chicago at that time when WPVI called me, but WPVI was a lot more appealing for me weather-wise too.
Yeah, I would bet.
You know what I'm saying? That's how I ended up here in 1990, and I was there for 15 years, and then was fortunate enough when I left there to go on to Comcast Sportsnet for 3.5 years. So, been very fortunate to work in this city and cover some of the people that I have. I mean, just unbelievable athletes that have come through here. And I was telling my sons, I have 2 sons that are 26 and 21, and they always ask me like, "Well, who's your favorite person that you interviewed?" And it's going to sound weird, but it's been all these athletes who were kids I interviewed in high school that went on to be great. Kobe Bryant,
right?
Wallace, Rasheed Wallace from Simon Gratz, Adult Staley from Dobbins Tech.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even when I was in Connecticut, Rico Bronya. I don't know if you remember Rico Bronya.
Yeah,
I do remember. Rob Dibble. I mean, I covered all these guys when they were in high school. So to watch them go from high school, go through college, and to become good pros, that to me has always been, and that's why I was so heartbroken the day when Kobe passed away, because, we've been following Kobe since he was a junior in Lower Merion. And, when he chose, I got to be honest, when he said he was going to bypass college and go right to the pros, I didn't think he was ready, because who was he playing against? A bunch of suburban league kids, right? But little did I know that he spent his summers playing against NBA guys, up in New York and in Philly. So that was one of the biggest. If I would have lost a lot of money if I had to make that bet. Obviously, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. But I loved covering sports in Philly, and I love the passion of the fans. But God, people, ease up, man. The sky's not falling. I mean, it's not. Enjoy, get back and enjoy. See what happens. Just see what happens. Give Nick a chance. Just give.
Well, I think we all are, because I will say we had on a gentleman, Michael Terrazas, and he was with the Indianapolis Colts, and it was funny because he was saying that obviously the people there had already started missing him when they find out as quick as things get spread around that Nick was going to be gone and becoming the Eagles head coach, and even he talked about him like it was his dad, for the most part, and it was. But it was cool because the way he was telling the story was like, Nick he's there with the guys. He talks to guys. He wants to get to know his players. This year, obviously, was a lot different with Corona. You couldn't get to know your players as much as you possibly could in the past. But he did, he spoke well accolades of Nick. And when we're seeing all these different coaching changes, so it's like everything else. Philly it's what have you done for me lately? We won the Super Bowl. The next day is like, okay, what are we doing next?
Right.
It's just the way it is. And it's funny, but I'm pretty sure Nick will be just fine. I do want to go back to a little throwback because Mike actually has a question for you. And I did have the picture to go along with the question, and it's a little bit of a throwback here.
Uh-oh. Wow, look at that group. That was a group. That was the best sports team in town. And the one person that's not in that picture who I absolutely loved working with was Tug McGraw. I have a picture somewhere where all 5 of us are in the picture, and Tug McGraw was what a funny guy to work with. But that was a classic crew right there. And it's a shame about Gary. Gary was only 49 when he first got diagnosed with prostate cancer, and to watch him go through that process 3 times was tough each time, because you could tell that each time it took a little bit away from him. And at that point, our news director was a lady by the name of Carla Carpenter, and she begged Gary not to come into work after getting his chemotherapy. But Gary said, no, I'm fine. And so, you weren't going to stop Gary from coming in the building. And they went out and got Gary a couch to put in the sports department. So when he got tired, which he did get, he was able to lay down. But, he fought that till the bitter end. And it's a shame. He left behind 2 sons and a wife. And it just goes to show you that guys, get checked. 49, back when he got it, back when Gary got it, it was like they didn't want you to get checked until you were, in your mid-50s. But now they've changed it. So if you haven't gotten your prostate exam yet, it's never too late to get that done.
It's very true. I got mine done 2 years ago.
Let me see that picture again.
Well, I'll bring it back up.
Let me see that. Yeah, I did have hair.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, man, it's starting to turn into a big screen TV. Like the hairline is starting to recede back, and it was time. I woke up one Thanksgiving morning. I looked in the mirror and I said, God, man, what's going on here? So I just took it all off. I got in trouble for doing that, by the way. Carla Carpenter, my boss, she got really mad because I didn't ask permission to shave my head. But it was time, because my hair was just. I have an APB out for it, and we haven't found it. That's 2005. So, but yeah, thanks for sharing that pitch. That was great.
Oh, you're welcome. It's funny you bring up as far as like hair and shaving it without asking permission. So now, how do you feel now that obviously the times, of course, have changed, and now you can have the mustache, I guess, was always there, but now you can have a beard. You still can't change the hair the way you want it to be, but it's kind of up a little bit.
No, yeah, I can't change the hair I want. So television has changed a whole lot, and I came through when I first got my very, very first interview. I was right out of college. I went to the University of New Hampshire, and I got an interview with a tiny TV station in Manchester called WMUR. It was the only TV station in the state at the time. And I had this cheesy mustache. And I went in for the interview. I did the interview. The news director was like, I want to hire you, but you got to do something for me. I'm like, what is that? You got to shave that mustache off. And I'm like, hey, whatever. You give me a job, I'll shave it off. Back in the early days of television, facial hair was not a thing. But now, even if you watch these days, it was always a thing at Action News. You always had to, when you were on set, you always had to wear a shirt and tie and a jacket. But if you watch television today, like you watch ESPN, some of these other shows, everything's very casual. There's no ties. Everything's laid back. Television has just changed over the years, and it'll change. It'll change even more. So
we do see that, obviously, even keeping on a TV theory here with COVID, a lot of things changed, right? Before it used to be everyone had to be in the studio, and now they've learned you can have 2 people in the studio and then everyone else can be remote. The NFL today decided that they're going to go kind of with that theory where it was, of course, the players, everything was done virtually. And it seems like now they're going to adapt that, from here forward, because they were saying that players like it, that it can be at home and not have to come down to, whether it's a stadium or a practice facility, where they have to be pretty much, I guess, I don't want to say they've been bothered, but they just like it that if they're home, they don't have to be with, thousands of reporters. And especially like after the game, a lot of them have really liked it. They don't have to be bombarded by other reporters. So it looks like, it's going to be one of those things that's going to stay. And as far as even in the podcast community, I don't think we've ever seen so many sports, or singing, dancing. You name it. It's changed so much. And if anything, I guess COVID made things a little bit better for a lot of people, even for us, for the most part. But it's nice.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Sure.
When did you guys start doing the show?
We started this back in July of last year.
All right. So you did it during COVID, right?
Yeah.
So COVID got you guys together to say, hey, let's do it. You talked about the Super Bowl this week and how, covering the Super Bowl is a circus. They have media day, and you have people from all over the world interviewing these players, and they have them set up in different spots. They have some guys set up in the stands. Obviously, that wasn't the case this year because of COVID. But here's one thing I will tell you. I know a lot of people got hard on Nick for his first press conference, and everyone was critiquing how bad he was and how nervous he was. You know, there are players on both the Bucks and the Chiefs this week that said that they didn't feel comfortable doing those interviews that way. So it's not as easy as it looks to stand in a big, huge room and talk to a bunch of TV screens, people you can't get a sense for. So those players didn't like it either. So, I mean, I don't care how Nick is in a press conference. I care about how he is on the field. And, you know, we're going to find out how that is and what he can do. I mean, the Eagles the front office created this mess by drafting Jalen Hurts. I mean, that just all of a sudden just changed the whole dynamics of things. Carson was not very good this year, and I'm not going to defend Carson this year, but, you know, if you go back and look at the 3 previous years, everyone said he slowed down after 2017, but that's not true. The team as a whole has not been good since 2017, and I have a theory on that. And my theory is that Frank Reich, I don't think Doug Peterson was a very, very good coach. I know everyone's like, I can't believe they're letting our Super Bowl coach work. But think about it. The last time that they were super good was when Frank Reich was here, right? Frank goes to Indianapolis, right? The last 3 years, he's had 3 different starting quarterbacks, right? And he's been like 2 years ago, they were 7-9. But they had Brissett as their quarterback. This year they had a Hall of Famer, and they had Andrew Luck before that. So he's had 3 different starting quarterbacks all 3 years, and he's been successful. 11-5 this year, went to the playoffs. And what have the Eagles done? They've kind of regressed, right? And I can't put all of that on Carson. I just can't. He was horrible. He didn't play. This is not the Carson Wentz that everyone, expected or was used to seeing. But even if you look at his numbers last year, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, he threw for 4,000 yards, which, by the way, is a franchise record for a quarterback in one season. And he did it without any of his receivers going over 500 yards, which is ridiculous. So, I mean, the talent around him has not been top notch. I mean, look at the guys that are playing in the Super Bowl list. Look at the weapons that Mahomes has. And these might be the best weapons that Brady's ever had when you look at the receivers and the running back and what he has. So I personally think I personally would like to give Carson Wentz one more year under a new coach to see if things change, because I just think he deserves that. I mean, people have really been coming down on this kid, and he said an awful lot for somebody who hasn't said a word. When you read some of the social media posts, and he wants out, he's this and he's that, but I haven't heard Carson say any of that. A lot of it is speculation, and I want to hear Carson Wentz sit down and say, okay, yeah, I want out. But I haven't heard him say that yet. So,
yeah, well, it's true. And then Tom, of course, hopefully that answered Tom's question. Go ahead, Fuji.
I was going to say, I just think it speaks volumes that Carson hasn't even spoke to the media. I mean, I'm sure you know a lot more about that than.
Well, what is he going to say? What is it you want him to say? I mean, what is it fans want him to say? He could probably do more damage. Look, when he got benched, everyone's like, "Oh, he doesn't want to fight for his job. He doesn't want to." Every quarterback. Did you hear the comments that came out of Aaron Rodgers after he lost the Super Bowl? The one thing I will tell you about Carson Wentz is all the times I've never heard Carson once throw any of his teammates under the bus or say this happened because this guy. I never heard Carson do that. I've heard other quarterbacks do it, but from what I understand, talking to people, Carson was, even though he was upset, which he should be. I mean, look, nobody was more upset about how bad he played than Carson Wentz, right? Carson Wentz doesn't want to play like that, but apparently he was a good soldier. He helped Jalen Hurts, when Jalen needed it. He was there on the sidelines. People like, oh, look at a punk. Look, he's such a punk. He didn't even dress for the last game. He didn't dress because the coach told him not to dress because they wanted to dress another player so he could play. And everyone, it's all perception. Like everyone thinks he didn't dress because he's done here. No, there were a lot of players that didn't dress in that last game, and he didn't dress because they deactivated him. Right. It's just perception, and it really, really sucks. It does.
No, it does. And I do feel bad kind of way for Carson because I don't know if it's the team that's not allowing him to speak or Carson just doesn't have the right things to say or he doesn't have any say so in it. I just feel bad because we haven't heard anything whatsoever from Carson to this point. And I would think if you really wanted to be here, even with the new head coach, Nick, being in town as well, to me, it would be one of those things that Carson would say, you know what, I'm going to put everything to rest here. I want to, and I know they have to go through the managers and all that good fun stuff. But to me, you would want to make a statement to let the fans know, you know what, I'm here. I'm a diehard Eagle. I'm going to give it my best, whatever it is that he needs to say. But he needs to come out and say, because we're now, a month away from the last time the Eagles played. We're coming up in the offseason here after this Sunday. So how much time is going to go by without hearing a word from Carson Wentz? I think that's the most intriguing thing so far.
So a couple of things. We're in the age of social media. If Carson Wentz really wanted to say something, he has a social media platform, just like every other professional athlete does. And trust me, there are professional athletes that go on social media and say stuff they're not supposed to say. You should be more concerned that he's already had a conversation with Nick Sirianni. That is probably the most important conversation that he's had. Why is it so important that he talks to the fans? That's what I want. That's what I keep trying to find. Why is it so important that he talks to the fans?
Yeah, to me, I think it's, I don't know, I will say for my own self, and this is my own opinion, it's one of those things that you just want to know where Carson stands. And I think because there's been so many different rumors and speculations, the NFL Network talked about it today. There's 9 to 19 teams that are requesting his services. So it's just
9 to 19. That's more than half the teams in the league.
Right.
That's not happening. That's
right.
That's just not. That's not.
No, but to me, it's interesting that still there's been like very, very minimal talk as far as what he wants to do. And I guess maybe because I don't know, I think Fuji used this earlier when we first came on, it like the Homer feel, I guess, the hometown, that you want to hear something because you don't like someone that's quiet. Like there was, I think, an AT&T commercial a while back where the girl, she calls her boyfriend up and she tells her boyfriend, I'm going to give you the silent treatment. The boy was like, well, you're not giving me the silent treatment because you're still talking to me. And then she stops talking. He's like, hello. Well, now she started the silent treatment. So it kind of feels that same way when it comes to Carson.
All right, here's what I'm gonna make a prediction. I'm not good at this because if I would, I'd make a lot of money. But I'm gonna make a prediction here, and that I guarantee you there will come a time shortly, maybe after the Super Bowl is over and the 2020 season will officially end at the end of the game Sunday. That's when everything starts. I guarantee you that Nick and management will probably have a press conference where you'll hear something from Carson soon. But there's nothing for him to say right now. There really, really isn't. But the only thing that sucks about him not saying anything is all the speculation. I mean, people keep saying, "Oh, he's a pussy. He wants to get out of town. He doesn't want to compete." Of course, he wants to compete. No, he's not said that. Of course, he was upset for being benched. And people got all upset and thought that Doug Peterson was throwing that last game. I mean, before that game even started, they made a decision that, they were going to try and give what's the backup quarterback?
Nate Sudfeld.
They were going to give Sudfeld some playing time because he hadn't played all year. They wanted to make sure that he got a chance to play. That was before the game even started. You knew that when Carson wasn't dressed, that maybe that was that possibility. I know that Jalen, he got hurt too, just like Carson did when he got pulled out. But if you go back and look at Hurts' numbers in that game, Hurts was not playing well anyway. He really wasn't. When you deal with professional athletes, you're dealing with a lot of egos, a lot of these, especially quarterbacks and wide receivers. Wide receivers are divas, as you all know.
Right.
But they're human too. I mean, people forget, Carson Wentz is a human being with feelings and emotions. Yes, people are upset because he got paid $140, whatever it was, $1 million. But that was based on look, I have the numbers right here real quick. I'm going to read them to you because I had a conversation with a buddy today. 2017, 18, and 19. Take those 3 years, right? Those last 3 years for this season. 10,000 yards passing, 81 touchdowns, and 21 interceptions. That's in a 3-year span. That's what he got the contract for. And then all of a sudden he comes out and plays poorly, and now people are like, he didn't deserve the No, the way he played this year, he didn't deserve it, but he got it based on those numbers for the previous 4 years. And last year, he literally put that team on his back to get him to the playoffs, even though he got hurt. Because every one of those last 4 games, remember, it was win or go home. If you didn't win, the Eagle season was over. They won 4 games in a row, and he was throwing to guys who weren't even on the roster when the season started. I mean, that's the other thing you have to remember. He was throwing to guys that nobody even knew who they were when the season started. But he got him to the playoffs. And what did he have last year? Last year he threw 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. aren't like, people keep saying, oh, he stinks, he's trash. I mean, what are you talking about? He had a bad year. And go listen, fellas, when you're done here, go look at Ben Roethlisberger's 5th season in Pittsburgh. The team was better because they had a great defense, but he was not good. And his numbers were similar to what Carson had this year. And what did he do? He bounced back the next year and won the Super Bowl. So
that's true. Now, speaking of Ben, because you just brought him up here, does Ben come back again for the Steelers, or are they finally going to start having a quarterback competition? Because obviously Ben is starting to come on the downside of his career. So not too bad of a season this year, but I'm wondering, will it be the final season for the Steel Curtain?
It's never the final season for the Steel Curtain. What have they won? 6 Super Bowls as a franchise?
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin, he doesn't get enough credit for what he's done in Pittsburgh. He's a long tenured coach who has been successful. And that division has gotten better every year. That division has gotten better every year. So I don't know. I think Ben will come back one more year to at least compete. They did draft a quarterback who they think could be the quarterback of the future. But, I mean, it stinks, right? You start out 11-0, and people keep saying, oh, they're great, they're great. And I said, well, let's see what they do when they get to the playoffs.
Right.
And obviously, things as the season gets older, things change. What do they do? They lost 3 games in a row or something like that?
They struggled struggled down the stretch. I mean, they didn't look like no 11-0 team.
No, they did when they were 11-0 though.
Right.
I was never sold on them. There were games that they probably should have lost, but that's what I mean about football. You just never know about football. And would Andy Reid? I mean, even though he's a good coach, would he be as good as he's been the last 3 years if he didn't have a Patrick Mahomes?
Probably not.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes is like, they always say, good coaches, if they're honest with themselves, they'll tell you great players help make me a better coach. And when you look at the speed that Kansas City has had and the quarterback that they've had, that kid is phenomenal. What did he have, 50 touchdowns a couple of years ago?
Yeah, so
that's crazy,
It is.
And no one knew who Patrick Mahomes was. I mean, he wasn't a big star in college. He was good, but he wasn't like – everyone talks about Carson coming from North Dakota State. Football is football. I don't care what level you play at. I have a lot of friends who played at that level and have gone on to be successful. My son, Jordan, played at Delaware, and several of his teammates went on to the NFL. Boyle, the tight end from the Baltimore Ravens, was one of my son's teammates. There's been a couple of guys. So the level of talent doesn't, dictate how good you're going to do in the pros, because look at all those Heisman Trophy winners and first round absolutely stunk who have come from big name schools. So it's all right here. I mean, who's one of the best athletes in Philadelphia you ever know that you've known? Like, little guy, but he played from here, right? Allen Iverson, because he was the smallest guy on the court, but he played with heart, and he didn't let the fact that he was the shortest guy on the court stop him. And most guys couldn't stop him. So sometimes it comes down to, what's in here and not what's on the outside, what's physically there.
Right.
No, that is exactly true. And if we're talking about close to the retirement, I guess if we go south of Philadelphia, you have Drew Brees, who's kind of now contemplating whether
he's done.
Decides he's done.
He's done. Drew Brees is done.
Which then makes Jameis Winston possibly the new starting quarterback, because apparently he spoke to him before the game was over, the last game when they played, and they looked at him and told him, I guess it's your time.
Taysom Hill is a quarterback. Not yet.
He's been waiting. He's been waiting in the wings.
Coach Payton already said that. He's already got his quarterback in the wings. And if you watch that game, that was it. That was his last game. That's why it was such a big deal.
Well, it's going to be interesting, but I want to take a quick walk across the street, of course, over to Citizens Bank Park, because the 2 guys that the Phillies and the fans were hoping for to sign finally signed, JT and Didi. So at least there is some hope in the spring, which we did hear that Major League Baseball wanted to cut the games down by 10. They wanted to start it in March. All this kind of goofy stuff was going on, and basically players said, no, we gave you what you wanted last season. This season, we want our season. So down here, I believe they're due to report February 17th, if not earlier. But I think 17th is the cleared upon date. And thankfully, down there at Bright House Field, Spectrum Field, they will allow the fans in, of course, socially distant, mask, all that good fun stuff. Not as many as beforehand, but I'm glad that at least I'll be able to see the boys before they head back up north, because last year we were able to see one game before they shut the whole entire thing down.
Right.
And it was bad. So it's nice to see they re-sign JT and Didi. So I don't know how you feel about as far as the signing, but at least the Phillies are trying to get somewhat in momentum to get back to at least maybe the 2006 season before we can go back to 2008.
So two things that the Phillies have done in the last 2 years that I think are going to bring them back to where Philly fans want them to be. The hiring of their manager. Love that guy. I when I was in New York, I covered the Yankees for 3 years. I covered the Mets and the Yankees for 3 years. And I love Didi Gregorius. So I'm glad that they decided to sign him again, because Didi's a fun player and a good player. Like from a media standpoint, if you have to interview him, he's great. And the fact that you sign one of the best catchers in baseball is going to help with whatever your starting rotation is. So I believe with the combination of manager and players that they've signed, I'd like to think that, and we'll see what happens. But I think that the Phillies could be coming back soon.
I think so as well. And so I guess now go laterally across the street. I think Doc Rivers is definitely one of the yeah. I think Doc Rivers was a great hire as far as for the Sixers. I was actually surprised with the whole LA Clippers kind of fallout that Doc didn't want to stay there. But hey, it's our gain. I think the Sixers will finally get. I know Brett Brown. God, love him because he did try. I will give Brett Brown that much. He did try with the organization. He tried the best he possibly could. But maybe Doc Rivers is finally that coach that will get us, again, back to at least a playoff, more than just the first round, obviously the second round, but good moves by the Sixers. And I do like the hire by Doc Rivers.
That game that they were trailing by 20 points the other day, would that have been a game they would have won last year?
With Brett Brown, no way.
Yeah. I mean, you can already see the team. Look at Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is an MVP candidate this year. Of course, the guys in Brooklyn haven't got their stuff going yet. I mean, because right now, the two top teams in the NBA, I do believe, are the Sixers and the Lakers, right?
Exactly.
But when those three guys in Brooklyn start playing together, they could be the team that could give the Sixers a struggle, a challenge.
I think so, including and Boston hasn't gone really hot either. But then again, we've seen Boston make late runs when they need to be. There's certain teams that that you can expect that it's almost like going back to the Flyers. Flyers last season, of course, surprised everyone how far they made it. Now you go back 2 seasons prior to that, when we're looking at the former coach. What did the Flyers do? They got hot at the wrong time, and then you would see the collapse happen. No different than the Phillies did. It's the same exact thing. So it was nice to see the Flyers making that surprise run they did last year. And then this year, to start the hockey season, they won, 7 out of 10 and picked up right where they left off last season.
By the way, there's another great coach right there. Elaine Vigneault is, and again, all these New York cast off, right? But I used to love covering Elaine Vigneault too, because he's the kind of guy that will tell you like it is. And the Rangers were pretty good when he was their head coach. Of course, they had one of the top goalkeepers in the league too. That also, Patrick was very, very good. But I mean, if you're a Philly sports fan, things are starting to look up. I think that all 4 teams are going to be more competitive moving ahead in the next 2 years. But I am probably like you 3 more excited to see what happens now with the whole changing of the guard down in South Philly with the Eagles coaching staff. And it's going to be interesting to see what moves they make moving forward to help make this team even better. We forget that was it Marquise Goodwin? Is that he didn't even play this year, and that guy's a speedster. If you ever get a chance to, there's a great 30 for 30 story on he and his wife and how they try to have a baby. All he ever wanted to do, this kid was become a dad, because when he was younger, his dad wasn't around, and he promised that he would be a better dad. And he and his wife got pregnant twice. First, they lost the first pregnancy, and so he had a procedure for the second pregnancy. They ended up having twins. Same thing happened. They lost three boys, and then the third time, they got pregnant. The baby survived. The baby was still born early, but the baby survived, and that was all part of the reason why he opted out, because of everything. I mean, people don't understand. Again, I'll go back to what I said to you earlier. Yeah, these guys get paid a lot of money, but they're human beings. They have emotions, they have feelings, stuff like that. So I can't blame that guy for opting out, given what he and his wife had gone through. he
Right.
was concerned about his wife. And I hope that he has a chance to come back this year because, I mean, Djax was a disappointment. Alshon was a disappointment. And I don't know. Maybe, I mean, apparently they're going to try and make Rager a better player. I hear that's one of the things that Sirianni wants to do because whatever Doug was doing wasn't working. I mean, these guys weren't getting open. You guys watch football this year and you watch other teams playing like, wow, how'd that guy get so wide open? Well, it's because of scheming and what coaches come up with. And we didn't see a lot of that with the Eagles after Frank Reich left. So, maybe, change is good sometimes, and we'll see what happens.
I think so. I mean, for this organization, it has to be better. I mean, what we like to see, and maybe Fuji got a little bit fired up, would we like to see Howie gone? Probably. Because I think Howie's kind of run his course here in Philly. That's Fuji's best friend, by the way. He loves Howie Roseman. I can't tell you how much he loves him.
We're old friends.
Well, I got to tell you, though, if Jeffrey Lurie has a weak spot, it is for Howie. Harry Roseman. I always thought that maybe Howie should stay on as the money guy and hire a real general manager. They had a guy. He got away from them. He ended up going to Detroit. But I think there needs to be a real good football person in that front office and just let Howie take care of the contracts and all that stuff because that's what he's really good at.
John Dorsey.
Yeah, exactly. And look what does he do? He right away takes three guys. He takes Deuce Staley, right? And he takes a couple of other guys from the staff.
Dave Fett, the special teams.
And what about now? He's not the general manager. He's the assistant general manager. But how about that deal they pull off to trade for Goff?
Right.
Yeah, that was insane.
Now,
and
the general manager who now the general manager of Detroit was in L.A. So by making that deal, it wasn't so much them getting rid of Stafford as it was the new general manager wanting Goff in Detroit. So we'll see how that works out too.
Yeah, it's going to be – I think this is probably the most offseason because, again, we saw we're talking about the Marquise Goodwin story, and it was funny hearing about the story because, of course, a lot of people were stating that I can't believe he did that. I can't believe he's holding out. But, yeah, if you did read the storyline, the reason why he did it, then people would understand. So there was a good point that you had made there. And we know that there's a lot of guys that held off for their own reasons. I know the Patriots, I believe, had 3 players. One key wide receiver, and he was taking care of his grandmother because his grandmother had raised him.
Yeah.
So he wanted to make sure nothing happened to him. And who are we? I know when COVID first came out, it's real, it's not real. All this stuff was going on. But if these players opted out of their season because they wanted to make sure their parents were going to make it to see him come play the following season, that good for them because they don't have to. They don't owe us, I guess, anything as fans. That's up to them. And you are right as far as the human side. They're allowed to say and do what they please as long as it's not going to, end their career, which you're not going to say something that stupid to end up doing something like that. But it's going to be, I think this offseason for the NFL is probably going to be the most intriguing one because we'll get to see players that we didn't get to see come back next year. And New England probably being one of those teams, which I'm not a super fan of, to put it that way. But again, Belichick, you can't take away from him, but he didn't have about 8 players that opted out even before the season started. So New England could be looking completely different. I don't think Cam Newton will be there come next year.
Right.
That from the grumbling and rumblings have been that they want to take away Mike Garoppolo from San Fran and bring him back to New England.
That was a big mistake. That was not Belichick. That was the owner. That was the owner and Tom Brady. That's why Garoppolo ended up in San Francisco because he was primed to be the next quarterback after Brady left. And so he ends up – and so, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to – because he's a backup now, right?
Garoppolo?
Yeah.
He was the starting QB, but he got injured towards the end part of – no, sorry. So he started a season injury, came back, then went on the injury reserve list again. And now the plan or the grumblings were San Fran wasn't too happy with Garoppolo. Garoppolo wants to be there as a starting QB. They don't want to make him the starting QB. And then all of a sudden here comes Belichick calling saying, hey, would you like to come back? And he feels that he doesn't want to go back to New England because of the way he was dealt the first time around. So, but sometimes it's not up to you,
right,
as we know, the way the contracts work. So there's a lot of interesting talk that's going to happen, I will say, for almost everywhere, even with baseball, because obviously it hasn't ramped up yet. We're going to see, trades happening. There have been small trades here and there that's been going on. So there's a lot to be talking about here in the upcoming weeks, that's for sure. Phil, of course, we don't want to take up too much more of your time. We do appreciate you coming on. We're about to sign off ourselves here momentarily, but to me, it's one of those honors because, again, watching you on TV and now being on the flip side, being able to interview you with us, and we do appreciate your time coming on with us tonight. That's probably the most nostalgic moment of the night, is just being able to at least talk to you, is not, just as a reporter, but as the man himself. And we do appreciate you coming on.
You guys flipped the mic on me. That's what you guys did, right? I listen. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come join you guys. I love this. This was fun. A lot of fun.
Thank you for
picture. Next time I'll bring some pictures.
Thanks for hanging in there with us.
No, this is fun. You guys are good. Garoppolo is a good QB. And I'm sorry. I'm getting all choked up because we're leaving. So thank you very much, guys. And anytime in the future, if you want me back, let me know.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. We do appreciate it.
I'll bring some pictures. I'll bring some pictures tue. What the heck is going on? Be up here so I can go cough my brains out.
All right, let me take you off your momentarily. Thanks a lot, Phil.
Put me back in the green room.
Phil, one more question. Okay. I wanted to get a Super Bowl prediction, but
he's going to clear his throat, so we'll bring him back as soon as if he gives me a thumbs up here after he takes his liquids to make sure that he's good.
No, don't bet.
No,
don't ever bet against Tom Brady.
Well, I say the Bucs might pull this game out.
Well, I can't bet against Tom Brady.
You know what? Here's another thing I like to see Tampa Bay win. Bruce Arians. I don't think that guy gets enough credit as a head coach. He coached there for Temple for 6 years.
Yep.
And
wasn't Todd Bowles one of his players?
Yes, played for Temple. Yeah. And if anybody gets a chance, watch A Football Life with about Bruce Arians. He was an assistant under Bear Bryant.
How about that? You know your stuff. You should have a podcast.
That's next.
Hey, listen, guys. I'm sorry, man. I got to get ready for a million little things. Okay, I got to go.
Yeah, no problem.
We need a Super Bowl prediction.
You want me to give you a Super Bowl prediction?
Sure.
Okay, you ready? You're gonna hate this. I'm gonna go out on a limb here.
All right.
The team who scores the most points will win the Super Bowl. That's all I can give you right now. That's all.
That'll work. That definitely works.
All jokes aside.
Ooh.
I'm sure you've been asked this a million times already.
I don't know, man. Andy Reid is good after a bye, and so is Tom Brady. So
it's a rematch from 39.
It's
Brady against Andy.
Oh yeah, you're right. They didn't cheat this time though.
No Bella cheaters. I mean Belichick.
All right, you're gonna make me do this, aren't you? I would love to see Andy Reid win back-to-back Super Bowls, but I can't. I'm gonna say Buccaneers.
No score.
Right. Same thing. That's right.
I just think they're really balanced on both sides of the ball. That's all.
I think that defense is playing lights out.
Yeah. And both coaches are good, right? Both coaches are good. So
plus JT McCoy's going for his second Super Bowl without playing.
How about that?
Huh? Yeah, right place at the right time, like you said.
Two different teams in two years, right?
Not a bad resume.
This will be his third? No. This will be his. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. He's gonna have 2 rings and wasn't even a starter. Anyway,
exactly.
All right, put me back in the green room.
All right, Phil. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
we appreciate it.
Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
All right. So thanks to Phil for coming on. That was absolutely awesome. And for everyone else, thank you guys for of course making your comments. We do appreciate it. Ryan, I know you didn't get a lot of love from us as far as when it comes to KC. We still have, of course, don't forget this Sunday coming up from 4 to 6 this Sunday. We will have on the Super Bowl show. So you guys, if you don't want to tune in to CBS, of course you can tune into us, and we greatly appreciate it. So for, of course, the sports contributor, the guru, the professor, Mike Sherman. For my co-host, Mike Fuji, also known as Vito Corleone, I'm Angel. Thanks you guys for tuning in tonight. We appreciate it, and we'll see you on Sunday.